Hello my friends and welcome. We have some sort of the good news coming from the front lines. Today Ukraine moved quite a lot in the hotspot on the south part of the front lines. It happened on the north from Ruzzia village. It's been confirmed that Ukraine took all of that territory. Here are no any villages, nothing, just the fields. But those three lines were used by Russia as the defense lines. By the way, we have the new function here in the English version of the map also that shows you the defense lines of the Russian army. Here you can see they put quite a lot near to this wood line, and if we zoom out you can see all of them, and still it's far away for us to reach them, around 13 kilometers. Nevertheless, the Ukrainian army continued to move forward, and we can check out the timeline. It was yesterday and it is today. It's been confirmed that this area, let's measure around like that, we liberated more than 6.5 kilometers in that particular place. Since Russia has the defense line near to Staromayorsk, Ukraine wants to move from this side to try to encircle that village. Based on the images coming from the battlefield, Ukraine stopped using the Western-made heavy vehicles like Leopard. However, the demining vehicles are now in use, and not those tank-made vehicles, but the vehicles that shoot the special detonators on the long rope to explode the line in the minefields. And after Ukraine handles all of that, we're gonna use the heavy armored vehicles, including Leopard and Challenger tanks. Probably it will be in this place because here's just the single line of the Russian defense. Here are also some of the defense near to the villages, but not as significant as this one, and it's important for Ukraine to break through it, and it's only possible with the heavy armored vehicles like tanks. Because the Ukrainian command changed the tactics for the tank usage, Russians started to say that Ukraine will use less tanks and more infantry. That will increase the casualties for Ukrainian army. Actually, it's not like that for now. We use the light armored vehicles and battle machines together with infantry because it's our only choice. Without the F-16s or any other Western-made jets, we're unable to penetrate the Russian defense lines without losing our tanks. From the latest information, Russia sent lots of the helicopters, K-52 helicopters, to Berdyansk airfield, and those are being used to target the Ukrainian tanks also. The range of their missiles is around 7 kilometers. The helicopters may fly low over the field without being spotted. So probably the fighter jets is the only tool that you can use against those low-flying, hovering helicopters. I would agree that the counteroffensive is kind of slow, but little by little we are moving forward. Before we continue with the situation on the front lines, let me shout out the sponsor and also the partner of my channel, the long-term partner. It is the Atlas VPN. They came out with a huge deal for my followers where you can get the Atlas VPN Premium for just $170 per month plus 6 months for free. This winter I was really impressed about the charity action of the Atlas VPN mother company. They've donated around 1 million euros to purchase the special radars for Ukrainian army. It is outstanding. Totally for that radar fund more than 6 million euros were collected, and those radars are now in Ukrainian army. I can confirm that. So I'm really proud that I have that sponsor on my channel that is working with me for a very long time, and moreover the product they provide is outstanding, and the price they now have for my followers, subscribers, is the best deal you can get on the market. It has military encryption standards, strongly securing your data and your devices from being reached by government, unwanted ads, and also hackers. Yes, you may say hackers, why do they need my account? Well, actually, my friends, I got personal experience that my pilot blog channel dedicated to aviation was hacked. Then I was using public Wi-Fi. All of my videos were deleted, and after that hackers told me to send Bitcoin for them and they will will open access to my own account. I didn't transfer anything and just started the new channel with the same name. And obviously after that case I use the VPN all of the time, and for me personally Atlas VPN is the best VPN out there. And now my friends, please check out my personal link in a video description just below, where you can get the Atlas VPN Premium with astonishing discount for $170 per month plus 6 months for free. The offer is time limited, so hurry up to join the club. About Orikhiv, there is the fighting near to Novodanilivka, and there was the information from the Russian channels that Ukraine moves ahead, but I don't see any kind of the updates for the military map and any of the news that could confirm that. But again, the fighting is ongoing all across the front lines, including Vuhledar. In Vuhledar, there were 2 of the assault vectors from this side and also from this side, probably trying to encircle the Mikilsky village, but there are some natural obstacles, the river, the lake, so it's very hard to perform the assault missions. And Russian forces, as you can see right now, they're quite dispersed along this more than 160 kilometers defense line, so they don't know where Ukraine will concentrate the forces for the punch to reach their defense lines. As for the Novakhovka landing operation, unfortunately I don't have any news about that. No good news, no bad news. There was the fighting, we know about it for sure because we got some sort of the video and audio confirmation of it. But finally it seems like Russia still keeps control over the Novakhovka. At least we haven't got any kind of the other videos from their side or from Ukrainian side that we liberated this area. So probably that operation of landing was the try, or it was used to deflect the attention of the Russian army. I was expecting quite a lot from this direction, but for now, no. About the Bakhmut area, there is just tiny little move from the Ukrainian army. It was yesterday, it is today. The 3rd Ukrainian Assault Brigade is getting close to Klishivka day by day. Probably with a new update we'll see more details, but again, here are some heights, and for us it's very hard to get control over them. One more Bradley was evacuated from the front lines. Here are some volunteers together with the Ukrainian soldiers. Unfortunately, that Bradley lost the turret and it was hit, as you can see, probably in the front part, and also Caterpillar was lost. However, the base itself in the one piece, and probably the turret was already removed for evacuation, who knows. Now I am looking for details about this operation, but wasn't able to find any yet. The Ukrainian drone unit commander Madar shared the images of the tank attack using the FPV drones as the weapons and the Mavic 3 as the surveillance drone. So first of all you find the enemy vehicles, tanks, whatever, infantry, and then you send the FPV drone to target it. This time it's the Russian T-72 tank that was hit just at the aft part, the most vulnerable part of the tank. After the strike, the tank's engine went on fire and crew was forced to leave the vehicle and run away. The full video I will share on my Telegram channel that is available in the video description below. Also, Ukraine continued to use the FPV drones to eliminate the Russian surveillance that they put on the towers on their controlled territory. That is how they may spot the movement of Ukrainian vehicles. The systems they use for surveillance are called Murom-P, and many of those were targeted by Ukrainian FPV drones. Here I want to show you the satellite images of the Kakhovka Dam that was destroyed by the Russian forces. So now it is intact and now it is deflooding, as you can see. Also, Novakhovka itself was partially flooded, but now the water starts to go down little by little. And this is the Crimean channel that is used to deliver the water to the peninsula. As you can see, it is unable to perform this job for the obvious reason. Basically, now the water is unable to get into the channel. The same goes with the nuclear power plant cooling reservoir. According to the New York Times investigation, they came to conclusion that the dam was destroyed by the Russians because there was the internal explosion of the area that was under the Russian control. I told you about it at the same day that this dam was blown up this was done by Russians. The group of leaders of some of the African countries finally reached their destination, St. Petersburg, Russia, where they met with Putler discussing the peace deal. But there will be no peace deal until Russia would withdraw their forces from Ukraine. However, those African leaders insist on the ceasefire just right now. That will help Russia to secure the current state and freeze the conflict probably for years. And I would say that African team that went to St. Petersburg, they do not represent all of the Africa. There are also the countries on the African continent that support Ukraine, also with weaponry. Today on my Telegram channel I said that the self-respect of that African team left the chat. Why? Because Russia confirmed that they fired their rockets on Kiev yesterday, by the time that the African leaders were in Kiev. But it didn't stop them to go to Russia and meet with the guy who ordered the rocket attack on them. So definitely there is no self-respect, and President Zelensky said that it's just your useless trip to the Russia. President said that Russia should be isolated from all of the outside world, and your visit there will not bring the peace for Ukraine. Ukraine has its own peace formula, and that formula based on the guarantees of security for the Ukrainian state. So about the guarantees, yesterday I shared the news that White House administration wants the quick plan for Ukraine to join the NATO alliance. So Biden today was asked about this quick way for Ukraine because the information was shared in the press, and he responded with what?
Make it easier for Ukraine to join NATO?
No. Because they got to meet the same standards.
Well, I'm not sure if you heard, but the Biden said no for the easy plan for Ukraine to join the NATO because we need to fit with some sort of the NATO standards. I would say that actually we're the eastern flank of NATO, not being into the NATO alliance yet. I wouldn't say that everything is fine in the Ukrainian army, but our Western allies have everything to fix that in a very short term. We need to go through some sort of the reforms in the Ukrainian army, I may admit it, but now we are talking about the security guarantees for Ukraine. It's not the time for high standards, middle standards, or low standards. Our army, Ukrainian army, it's not perfect, but it was able to stop Russia. And there were no any NATO soldiers on our soil, and still they are known. Yes, now we have the fantastic equipment, heavy tanks, but not everything. We are still in lack of the fighter jets, we are still in lack of the long-range missiles. But the last year we were able to stop Russia without all of that. What we had was NLAWs and javelins, and there were not enough to stop the Russian army. And you cannot stop the Russian army just with that. We used the Soviet weaponry, the Ukrainian-made weaponry, and Ukrainian soldiers, Ukrainian infantry with a Ukrainian spirit. That is how we stopped Russia in Kiev and forced them to retreat. And not only in Kiev, the same happened in Chernihiv, Sumy, and the Kharkiv operation was done mostly with the Soviet-made vehicles by also Ukrainian soldiers. I want to warn you that we'll see lots of the politician play this year and obviously the next one, because it will be the election year in the United States of America. I would say that for the current White House administration, it would be crucial to finish this war by the next year as latest, because the President Biden needs to show something, the achieved result in Ukraine. The best scenario would be to get rid of the Russian soldiers in Ukraine, to cause them to leave the Ukrainian territory totally. It will be the big win, but I do not exclude that our allies will try to push Zelensky for the peace talks with the Russian Federation. But Zelensky doesn't want to do it, and Ukrainian society also doesn't want that scenario, because it will be just a temporary peace and Russia will try to capture all of the Ukrainian territory just later in a couple of years. That scenario is known. Well, just to return for the moment to the meeting between Putin and the African leaders, and it's the cringe, the cringiest cringe probably ever. Oh, I don't have words. Denmark, we believe in your awesome support of Ukraine. The defense minister of Denmark today said that they are ready to supply F-16 fighter jets to Ukrainian army, but for that they need the approval from the United States Army. They'll get it. Just a little later, we do expect that we'll start to receive the fighter jets this autumn. But today, the Ukrainian Defense Minister Reznikov said that we could receive the fighter jets probably at the beginning of the next year, but honestly, I think this year. The Putin's press secretary Peskov today said that the demilitarization of Ukraine is successful. He said that Russia has demilitarized lots of the army vehicles and tanks that were left in Ukraine after the Soviet Union collapse, but the Western allies continue to supply modern weaponry to Ukraine. So the only problem for Russia that Ukraine now has the better equipment actually. Now we have more infantry, now we have more vehicles, more tanks, more everything. So yes, I think demilitarization goes successfully. Portugal will supply the sophisticated drones to Ukrainian army. Those are Tikever AR3. I hope I spelled the name correctly. Well, it has two of the modifications, one with a vertical takeoff feature and the one without it. It cannot carry weaponry from what I understood, so it may perform just the surveillance missions. My friends, about the situation in Crimea, I was told many times in the comment section that Russia lost around 200 soldiers over there because of the Ukrainian HIMARS attack. It happened 2 days ago, and the information about the case is coming from the Russian resources as well as from the Ukrainian resources. It seems like the commander of the local brigade ordered every soldier to go out from the building to count everyone in front. At that particular time, HIMARS arrived, but we don't have any kind of the photo or video proof of that. That's why I wasn't saying about the case 2 days ago, and still I don't know whether that is true. Because if you remember the ambushment of the Russian barracks in Makiivka this new year, then Russian generals celebrated with vodka. At the same time, HIMARS went to the Russian soldiers. So we had lots of the photos and videos about that particular case, and Russia finally admitted it. Here we don't have any kind of the evidence. So I don't want to share the misinformation about that case. Many military bloggers already said about that case, but I don't know whether it's true or not. So I won't tell anything about it just to get more hype on my videos. My friends, now press the like to this video and don't forget to check my personal link in the video description below, where you can find the Atlas VPN Premium with a huge discount, especially for my followers. It is the best deal out there. It's the time limited, so hurry up to join the club. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.